Hello everyone and welcome to A Celtic World, the Celtic YouTube show and podcast celebrating the fact that we are all Celtic fans right round this world. And so whether you're in Garngad or Gothenburg, or whether you're in Springburn or Shanghai, I should say, you're all very welcome to A Celtic World. And just before we start, probably good to wish everyone, viewers, listeners, contributors, a very happy Christmas, and I hope everybody had a good time. And joining me tonight for all the fun of the fair is David in Vietnam. David, how are things in Vietnam and how was your Christmas?
It was very quiet. It was lovely for that reason. Merry Christmas to everybody in the comments, viewers, to you lads. Take a look at us. I'm not sure everybody saw it. Kind of maybe under the radar. We posted a Christmas video out, so go to the channel and have a look if you haven't seen it. It's just daftness, but hopefully it brings a smile to people. So yeah, very good. And hello to everybody in the comments and to you two fine fellas.
Yeah, we're also joined from the Banbridge town in the County Down. We're a very good friend. Brian, how are you, mate?
Not too bad, Stephen, not too bad. It's Monday and when's the football start? the betting, and I got a £5 on Paddy Power this morning, so it was quite good. One of the wee silly games, so that's a good start to the day. So Merry Christmas to everyone, all the viewers, and I hope you had a lovely green and white Christmas.
Yeah, and so Merry Christmas, as we said to all the viewers. I've got a few people in the comments already there. Monty's there, so Monty's always an ever-present, but as Monty has very, very eloquently discovered, there is no Gav today. He's away enjoying himself somewhere, probably. I don't even know where he is. Does any of you guys know where he is?
We do, and he's going to send back. So I'll tell you what we'll do. It's not a massive secret, but we are going to make a wee video of his escapade. So why don't we wait until he comes back? But we do know where he is. He'll be visiting a CSC where he is.
Okay. Well, we'll keep it a secret for now. So also hello and welcome to G-Doc in the comments there. And Plunge 274, he's greeting Fenians all the best in 2026. Right back at you, Plunge. And there's our old mate David in Bangkok, who I'm sure watched the game in the world famous Bangkok CSC. So hopefully I had a good time down there, David. So what we're going to talk about today, obviously we're going to talk about the Livingston game. We're going to have a bit of a chat about where we all sit with willfriednancy, and whether we're any more convinced about him as we were last week. I know there was some fairly strong views aired about Nancy and what the next move should be. And we're also going to have a look at where we are with the Celtic Collective Sack the Board update. We might have a bit of a chat about the Peter Lawwell departure, and he's not going quietly into the night. And then we'll look ahead to the upcoming transfer window, which, believe it or not, starts in 3 days. So probably time, Brian. If you were thinking about stopping drinking after the Christmas and New Year excess, I would maybe think about postponing that till after the transfer window, because it's not for the faint-hearted.
No, Burns night keeps calling. Burns night was always my sort of weakness in January.
Yeah.
Always do well, and it's you feel obliged. But I'm Irish, but
it feels like a bit of an excuse, Brian, since you're not even Scottish. But
not even Scottish. A couple of friends
that
are Scottish, So yeah, I just wondered if Danny Ings is he retired or where he is, but I've no great hope for. Well, we'll see. Stranger things have happened, but don't know about the transfer window. Will probably be a couple of loan signings. Let's see. The Biscuit 10 get much.
we'll get into that in a bit. But first, we'll crack on, have a bit of a blather about the game up at Livingston, the euphemistically known Spaghetti Had Stadium, one of the few remaining plastic pitches in the SPFL, hopefully not for long, and a place where we generally have a bit of bother. You know, we don't even good Celtic teams struggle up there. So I think it's fair to say we approached this game with some trepidation, despite the fact Livingston are bottom of the league. So I don't think we have the right to take any team lightly at the moment. But we'll start off with the lineup. I'll put that up just now. David, I'll maybe ask you first. Any big surprises there, or was it what you expected?
I was a little surprised that he stuck with Kenny. I think that boy's been under a lot of pressure, and we'll get into his performance in the game as well. I was surprised that he stuck with him. Obviously, Sinisalo coming in, I think that answered the call for a lot of people, and we can talk about whether or not everybody's wish to have him in the team is justified or not. I thought he had an all right match, actually, myself. But no great surprises for me in the team, other than the absence of Schmeichel completely. I didn't know what happened to him, but maybe you can tell me what did happen to him, that he wasn't even on the bench.
Yeah, I think the word on the street was that Schmeichel had picked up a niggling injury and had been given an injection earlier on in the week to see if it was going to clear up, but it didn't clear up in time. That was the reason why he wasn't fit to play. So Sinisalo comes in and makes his debut, which, to be fair, a lot of people were screaming for that anyway. I'm not sure whether a plastic pitch up at Livingston was the best place for him to be doing. Oh, sorry, I see his debut there, but he has played a number of games last season, but he hasn't played for a while. And I'm not sure if I wasn't expecting him to play at Livingston. I think I mentioned last week I was expecting him to appear in the Scottish Cup tie against Auchinleck. But in he came. And Brian, what about yourself? Any surprises with the lineup?
Obviously, Sinisalo and the continuation of playing Kenny. I thought he would have taken him out. Then again, we're down to the bare bones. We don't really have too many other options, you know. But
well, I think you're down to either Kenny or Shinya Mada, and I think, to be honest with you, that neither of the two of them are up to scratch. So he's obviously gone with Kenny. He must feel as if he's got a bit more about him with regards to his system and how he wants the team to play. So that's the lineup. That's what he went with. Interesting, no sign of Liam Scales again. So he's very much dropped out of favour. And I mean, I'm not Scales' biggest fan, but you know, I think that was harsh on him. I think he's probably been our best defender this season, but and I know that's a very low bar. But I think, you know, he find himself pretty unfortunate to be sitting on the bench, and he didn't even get on this week. And also notable was the appearance of Jamal Simpson-Pusey on the bench. So I don't know, that's a weird one. I just don't know what to make of that signing at all. He gets in the team, then he disappears. He gets on the bench, then he disappears. But he's back in again now. And you would honestly think, being a right-sided centre-half, that he would slot in there quite easily, considering, you know, we'll talk a bit about Ralston's performance coming up. But it won't be a spoiler to anyone to know that I don't think he had a great game at all. So you would think Simpson-Pusey must have a chance to get in that team. But yeah, it's good to see him on the bench. So the game gets off to we get started, and you're thinking, all right, let's just keep it tight. You know, let's not do anything silly in the early stages of the game. Yeah, but not so for Nancy Celtic. Poor pass from Kieran Tierney. It has to be said, across the middle of the pitch. Engels is in front of the ball and can't adjust to get back to it. And then we're in all sorts of trouble after that. And the guy, what's the guy's name? Montano. Gets through on goal. Yang is miles up the park. I'm not quite sure if he was meant to be there or not, but he's ran back. he's tried to make a challenge. He's kind of put Ralston off a bit by getting a bit of a nick in the ball. And Ralston's just ended up in no man's land, looking a bit daft. And the boys went on and planted it right into the back of the net after 3 minutes. So, not a great start, Brian. You must have been fearing the worst then.
Yeah, I was speechless. Didn't know what to think. As you say, try and keep it tight at the back, and then 3 minutes in, absolute disaster. And it was KT's fault. The ball was just what he was doing. He's obviously in his defence, he's told to play this particular way, and lo and behold, 1-0. Just shell shocked. Couldn't believe it. I was like, all right, this is a great start to Christmas. And I think the wife came out, what's the score in the game? She just looked 1-0 down and went, I'll come back later. But it didn't last too long. So that was the only positive out of it. Not a great start for us. And I suppose it's like any other game we've had under Nancy. You don't know what way we're going to go.
Yeah, so 3 minutes in, we're a goal down. Now, thankfully, we bounced back fairly quickly. And after 6 minutes, we get a ball in a corner in from the right-hand side from Engels. Really good delivery. I think it's Maeda that gets a header on, and Negrin at the back post just to finish it into the empty net. What did you make of that goal, David? Must have been a bit of a relief to be back in level terms so quickly.
I think coming from their first goal, something that kind of was a bit of a theme was these square passes that got us into trouble, which forms part of his system. But what I was very happy about was that the heads didn't go down. So within 3 minutes, we're back equalised, and obviously a lovely cross in by Engels. Maeda obviously just flicks it on. And Negrin, man of the match, did incredibly well. We'll get to his wonder goal later. But yeah, it was. I thought then that we were going to be okay just because of the way in which we responded so quickly to it. But then, of course, we know what happens next when 2 minutes later.
Good finish. It was a good finish by Negrin. It was a good goal and really good to see us scoring from a corner, which is something we just generally don't do. So that was nice. And I agree with your comments, David. I think one of the things that was great about the Aberdeen game last week was the way the team didn't let the heads drop when they conceded an equaliser fairly late in the game, and they rallied again and went and scored another couple of goals to win the game. But it was good to see that happened again up at Livingston. So maybe a positive sign of things to come. But unfortunately, this game we weren't done yet with the defensive disaster class, and this time after 8 minutes. So we'd only been in level terms for 2 minutes, and I think it was Maeda there that gets caught in the ball, just about 10 yards outside his own box, and Livingston win possession. It then ends up going out to our left-hand side, and it gets crossed to the back post, and it's the same guy again, this Montano, and he's, to be fair to him, he's laced another one right into the top corner. I might ask you, Brian, did you attach any blame to the goalkeeper for either of these two goals?
I thought he could have done better, certainly for this goal. It was a fantastic goal. And apparently he hadn't scored in ages. First 10 minutes against us, he's 2 under his belt. It was an absolute worldie. Drop. If I'd have tried to score from that angle, it probably would have ended up in Rose Ed or in the corner flag. But fair play to the lad, he took it well. Must have realised I'm not going to get too many chances today, so I need to make sure of them. So. But I think the keeper could have got it, could have palmed it away. It sort of reminded me of Cabbage Hands. Remember Barkas? That sort of put his hands up. But yeah, it was going to be one of those days, Not great.
I don't know I don't know how well.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I've just put a comment up behind my head there saying he's Sinisalo's out of position by about a metre for both Livy goals, David. And you can see, I've put the other image there of the ball just passing him, just passing his outstretched hand. So what was your take on that?
I thought Sinisalo was under unnecessary pressure there, and particularly the second goal. The first goal, you could maybe argue that he needed to be a wee bit better, but this one was a cracking strike from Montano. But he was standing completely unmarked, and our defenders were giving him a real view of the goal as well. I'm not sure if Sinisalo could have done much more with that cracking strike. What bothered me in this, again, seemed to come from the system that we play where, and we're not sure yet, and maybe we need to figure this out, and the tactical review boys can tell me, where are we playing? Where are we playing 3 at the back or 4 at the back? Because it seems to, when we're going forward, it works. But repeatedly what it seems to do is put the defence under pressure. There was a couple of instances leading around this time where Yang, as you mentioned, came back and supported. Even Kenny actually did well early on in getting back and getting the ball back up field. But it seems to be very difficult for the defence to get into a useful position with this push forward from this sort of 3 at the back type system. So for me, again, I don't know that Sinisalo actually could have done much more with this. Maybe a bit off his line, maybe could have done a bit better. But our defence and dealing with the system, that's the real worry. And if we come up against better opponents, I think we might be in trouble.
Yeah, I think that's the point that's coming through in the comments as well. Is there may be a slight argument that he could have done a little bit better, but he was left exposed, brutally exposed twice, and both the goals were fairly similar in that the boy on the left-hand side has been left completely unmarked. So that's between Ralston and Yang. Now, I've no idea who was supposed to be picking him up, but that's without a doubt being a tactical blunder for whatever reason. So they've set up wrongly. Now, to be fair, I don't think that happened again. Not like that anyway for the rest of the game. So whether that was down to Livingston being poor or us making some adjustments is not clear to me. But I think what is clear is, you go to Livingston, and we'll talk more about this in a bit. If you go to Livingston and score 4 goals, you should be looking at a fairly comfortable day at the office. And the fact that we weren't is down to the fact that the defence is absolutely deplorable. And that needs to be something that's addressed. So we'll move on from that. And again, thankfully, we've responded fairly quickly. So the ball's come in from the left. I think it was Maida has crossed it in. Johnny Kenny's went front post, tried to get something on it, got nothing on it really. And the ball's broke into sort of no man's land. But Yang, thankfully, was alert to it. He's got on the ball, put a little bit of footwork on and put it into the empty net. So it's 2-2. And there we can see Yang just dribbling around 3 enormous Livingston defenders all falling over each other. So I thought Yang did well for this goal. And to be honest, I thought bar the early defensive issues, I thought he had a decent game. But David, what was your thoughts on this goal?
I mean, I think it exposed Kenny a bit in terms of experience. He was kind of fumbling a bit, and Yang saved him a bit with his experience, strength, to be able to get it over the line. I mean, he did well, and I agree with you. I think overall, I think he had a really good game, thankfully. I think this system, again, what it does allow is players that we haven't seen much of to show some capabilities, and it doesn't suit everybody. But I think for Yang, it seems to be a system that he is able to show his qualities through. So again, I think he did really well, and he had to really stretch to get this over the line, but strength and determination. So I was very pleased for him because I think he deserved it overall in the match.
Yeah, I think you're right. Brian, anything to add? Yang's performance on the day?
No, I was just glad to see go in. And in the back of my mind, I was thinking if we're going to win today, we need to score about 4 or 5. But good to see. Good to see what if we could sort the defence out. What could we be? If I had somebody who can put the ball away, and I agree with David there. The young fella, and he's just struggling. He'd rather. He's almost getting in the way there. You know what I mean? He's fair play to Yang for scoring, but that's not.
While we're on the topic of Johnny Kenny, I mentioned earlier it's either him or Yamada, but is it? And do any of it? I'll go to you first, David. Can you see any other option for up front, given the fact that Maeda seems to be preferred on the left-hand side? Is there any other option to one of those two?
Negrin possibly push him forward. I think Kenny might have more of a midfield if they're determined to stay with him. And we're a bit concerned about bringing people. Bernardo, I think, replaced him in the second half. If we're concerned about what's on the bench, then I think it's clear that there's a kind of out of position issue with some players, and Kenny's just not the answer in terms of his experience. He's a development player, and I think he's been woefully exposed by the manager and the club. I don't think he should be placed in this position, and he's getting it in the neck. And I think the boy has got desire, and I think there's probably skill there. He's just not able in any way to live up to it. And I think that in this system at this point in our season, putting this kind of pressure on the boys too much. Now, who are you seeing coming through? I think Maeda, we're seeing better from him. Tierney seems a lot more solid. So if there's a connection between him and Maeda in games, then that can release Yang, Negrin. Do you go back to Bernardo and give him another shot, or are we concerned that that's just a backward step? I mean, again, it's this paucity thing, Steve. What can we do? Maybe we need to bring Kyogo back, or that's a later discussion on our transfers, isn't it? I don't know. I think it's just about which of the players are responding best to this system that reduces the pressure on the defence, and thereby we don't expose ourselves against better teams than Livingston.
Yeah, I think that's the nail on the head there. I think probably you'll see Kenny starting at least the next 2 games, which is quite worrying considering one of them's against the Huns. But I really don't think there's any other option at the moment. I may be wrong. Brian, what's your take?
Well, if I'm an opposition manager or team, and I see Kenny starting and Ralston's playing, and you sort of know the weak points, and that's unfortunately. I mean, you look at the Celtic strikers over the years. What I'd give for Willie Faulkner now. It's just
oh God's sake, Brian! Oh no,
Wayne Biggins, get the lads in. But what we would do for a half decent striker, somebody like Kyogo or somebody nowadays, or but we're gonna. He likes him for some reason. He must fit into the system, but Yamada mustn't be doing much.
You'd even bite your hand off for someone like O back, wouldn't you? Somebody who never even got a sniff at the team, really. But he's streets ahead of what we have just now. So, or Giakoumakis or something like that. These guys. I mean, it really is brutal how far we've fallen in the striking department.
Yeah, Giakoumakis.
We just don't have it. I mean, and if you remember when he left us, actually started to put some goals in. I can't remember where he went to, but he was getting game time and was scoring. I think anything kind of strength, big, strong sort of bodies up there. I think or anybody, but that's worrying that's what we're after.
Okay, so we'll move on in the game. We're really on top of the game at this point, and I think for the rest of the first half, it was a case of shoot it in for Celtic. It was like just a case of when we were going to get the goal. Livingston had very little to offer. The first chance I pulled up here is a header from Yang, from a really good cross, I think, from Tierney, this one. And he's got up well, just directed his header the wrong side of the post. David, can you remember that one? Probably should have scored, eh?
It would have been brilliant, and they would have got a lot more plaudits and possibly a challenge for the man of the match if he put that one away. But he put it in the right direction. He pushed it from where the ball came from. And again, I think it's maybe that lack of out-and-out striker capabilities that we're seeing there. But he did okay, but could have done better.
And then the next one, I can't remember what's happened here. Is that came off someone and bounced up for a corner, I think. I'm not sure. I can't remember. Maybe I wrote all this down. And this is another one that breaks to someone in the box, and they get a leg in front of it, and it's deflected for a corner. But then when we went to this one, and I'll let you've been gushing effusively about Nygren's contribution, David. I might let you talk us through this goal. He's picked the ball up just inside the box, and what happens next? Question of sports style.
Well, Tierney gets... I mean, I think, again, this is where Tierney added value because some of his passing was great. I mean, going forward passes were great. These square passes caused us trouble when we're defending. But 31 minutes and Tierney gets the ball over. Nygren controls it and just absolutely leathers it. Beauty, fully controlled, absolutely clear about where he was putting the ball. And it was a cracking goal, and I would be surprised if that doesn't come up in some goal of the week or month competition because it was a belter.
Yeah, Brian, you can see it just sailing past the keeper, comes off the inside of the post and then in. It's a cracking strike.
Yeah, Nygren, for all his faults, is in the right place at the right time. He's always thereabouts, and the guy does have quality. Good to see, good to see it going in the back of the net, of course, and the guy does. I mean, he does have a bit about him. Just we need to play to his strengths, and he does sometimes to be running around all over the place, but the man is definitely when there's a loose ball, that always seems to drop to him. He seems to just very intelligent to be in the right place.
So when you talk about playing to his strengths, Brian, I'll stick with you for this. So what do you think his strengths are, though? I think that's just something that frustrates people about Nygren is nobody really knows what his position is or what his best position is. So, do you think Nancy's maybe unlocked that, unlocked what his best qualities are, and is getting the best out of him?
I see Nygren as like a poor man's Christian Eriksen. He's not going to bust the gut or get in where it hurts, but he'll know where to be. He'll be in the right place, right time. He's obviously he's good on the ball technically, positionally he's very good also. I think the modern terminology, I know he's number 9, isn't he? But I think he's like a modern number 10, but I don't know. I just think he can score goals when required, and when you look at the goals, he doesn't do tap-ins. You know what I mean? The goal against Feyenoord, and then this goal. So he does have quality. I don't know if he seems to be like a luxury player almost, and that's probably doing him a disservice. Sort of in the Rogic mold, but maybe Nancy has unlocked this potential. Maybe time will tell, but certainly at the minute you can't keep him out of the team because Dyson's not scoring and Kenny's not scoring, so we need to have goals in the team.
I think you said it, Brian, there when you said that he finds himself in the right position. I think his reading of the game,
yeah,
he's got this freedom to wander a bit which gives us concern in terms of like what position is he actually playing. But he finds himself in the right position to receive balls and very quickly turn them into goals. And he's got a very direct strike. If you think about the difference between him and Kyogo will drop the defender on the turn, right? So Kyogo could receive balls, drop the defender, and then find with speed and real sort of poaching instinct to then get the goal. Whereas Negrin, I think, is taking that luxury you said of being able to move around the pitch a bit, read the game, and then put himself into a position where he can take advantage of it. So that football intelligence, which is lacking in a lot of players, I think that's what we're seeing more of them from Nancy, because Nancy's put in place a system whereby you've almost got no fixed position. You're allowed to kind of take up other positions, which under Brendan Rodgers, that just wouldn't have been allowed, right? It came from the back, the kind of horseshoe, the slow development up, and you would go through a series of players to get there. Whereas Negrin, I think, is that freedom to roam a bit and find those positions rather than just always challenging the defenders, as you say, kind of a bit of a luxury. But I think that's what it is. We lost you, Steve. Brian, could you hear me there?
Yeah, I can hear you.
My internet dropped out a bit there. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Aye.
I can hear. I heard you. You're just dropping in and out a bit, but it's my internet connection. So Negrin's a top goal scorer of the season at the moment. So I don't think you've got to find a place for him in the team, and I think that's key for us. He seems to be the only one who's capable of scoring regularly. So I think that's fair enough. So we'll move on to just before, I think it was the 39th minute or something, and again a corner, Engels corner gets swung in, and then we have this handball in the box by the Livingston defender, who gets a slight nudge in the back from Dyson Maeda, nothing much in it. But of course, every man and their dog is complaining now that this isn't a penalty. What do you think, Brian?
I thought we were quite lucky to get it, but when you look at what happened to Scales several weeks ago, the letter of the law was a penalty. So went to VAR, and we got the penalty. It was Engels scores it, so from just 4-2 up, just a crazy game. 6 goals in the first 45 odd minutes, but the defender was unfortunate, but that's the letter of the law now, so penalty. And glad to see Cal lifted the ball and calmed everyone down and then handed it to Engels.
And what was your view on it, David? Do you think it was a penalty?
Technically. Yeah, technically. It's harsh, isn't it? I mean, we're taking it, aren't we? Because I don't think at one ahead we were ever confident that we were going to walk away with a win, so we'll take it. You'd be a bit pissed if it was given against you, wouldn't you? But technically, it's a penalty. Aye. We needed it.
Yeah, I mean that for me. I mean, if you looked at this incident in a vacuum, you would say that's not a penalty. But given the fact that this has been given a penalty all year, and David Martindale, everyone's favourite little dirty wee Hun, said in his post-match interview, if that was given up the other end, it would never have been given. Conveniently forgetting the fact that, as Brian alluded to there was one of almost identical awarded against us, against Hibs at Easter Road a couple of weeks ago, when Scales was penalised in almost identical circumstances. In fact, if anything, Scales got more of a push in the back, or I think it was Engels. Someone got fouled, and it was more of an obvious foul than this one here, which was very little in it. So I think, given the circumstances and what they've been given as a handball, unless you're a Rangers player, of course, then I think that was always going to be a penalty. And for me, it had to be given. But let them whinge. Engel steps up, and he's got quite a good record from the spot. Were you any concerns, David, about whether he was going to tuck this away?
He missed one a couple of games ago. So I think it was pretty clear when the penalty was given. I saw McGregor actually sort of congratulating him and sort of geeing him up. And then McGregor had the ball. For a minute, I thought maybe McGregor was going to take it, but no, he was very clear that he was going to give him to get his, maybe just to make sure his confidence remained high, because he has a good record. And he put this away nicely, although he did do that wee pause that I can't stand.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brian, all of us of a certain vintage all hate that little staggered run-up thing.
Yeah.
You just want them to lace it, don't you? But I guess, if it ends up in the back of the net, it's a good penalty, isn't it?
I just get the Lewis Palmer. Do you remember 2 penalties in a row? He hit them, and it was just, oh my God,
Yeah.
But just good to see it win. I would be standing.
The ability to hit a penalty is.
I don't like the penalty, the stand and start penalty. If I was taking a penalty, I would be outside the D, running up, halfway line, get
from halfway,
and then I'll have a heart attack for a couple of seconds between the penalty. But I always like a bit of a, certainly a bit of a run up. Don't like these stand and start penalties, these shuffles.
I'm not sure whether or not technically there's a rationale for this to creep into the modern game. I mean, you had some players in the past who were just absolutely ballers, who wanted to entertain and could get away with this sort of stuff, and if they missed it, they would put another 10 goals in. That seems to be something that's kind of crept into a game where we see players doing this. I don't know whether or not technical coaching has come in to form this as part of the game, or is they themselves just want to take it this way. I don't know, because it seems to me from these penalties, spot kicks, just get it booted right into, know the goalkeeper you're up against, know his preference side, and then have practice to make sure you're going into an already decided left or right. So I don't get this run-up pause thing. I don't know. Someone tell me why.
Well, I mean, I think you could see from the replay, I didn't capture this at a still there, just before he hits it, Engels looks up. So clearly the staggered run-up is to let him have a look at the goalkeeper, and the goalkeeper's obviously shifted his weight to his right-hand side. So it's a battle of wills, just who's going to commit first. So the keeper's committed right, so he just rolls it into the left. And I think that's why they do it. Now, I'm not saying I agree with it. For me, you should be concentrating on contact and where you're placing the ball. And if you get that right, the keeper's not saving it, no matter which way he dives. So I would say that should be the priority. But I guess from his point of view, the reason they do it is because if he can see where the goalkeeper's going to dive, he just rolls into an empty net. And it's fairly simple. So I guess that's the rationale behind it. But I agree with you. I would like to see a lot more players lacing it. Anyway, 4-2, and that was half time. And I don't know what was said in the sheds or the dressing rooms at half time by willfriednancy to the team, but the second half again was fairly poor, fairly pedestrian. And when I was putting together the highlights in terms of clips, I couldn't find anything from us at all. It was all close calls from Livingston. This one, sorry, we should mention this one. This was just before half time, and I think this one was worth mentioning because Ralston gets a lot of criticism, but he did really well here. This was a ball to the back post, and I think it was the same. I don't know if it's the same guy again who'd already scored twice, but he was looking at a header into an empty net, and Ralston's thrown himself at it and taking a sore one off the post. So, fair play to Ralston for that. He did have a poor game, but he got us out of jail there. And then there was another one. Sorry, there was another one as well. Sorry, go Brian.
he always seems to get injured, you know, boot in the face or something. So what he lacks in technical ability certainly makes up for it with bravery. So
yeah, I don't think anybody can question his bravery or his commitment. But it's the football ability thing that has me worried. And this was another one right before half time, and this was the same player. This was Montana again, who gets onto a ball at the edge of the box, and it comes off Trusty. And just for a minute, you're thinking it's looping over Sinisalo into the net, but it just goes above the crossbar. But that was a close call, and I think we were quite fortunate to get in even at 4-2. Do you remember that one, David? Your heart in your mouth.
I don't actually. Maybe I was.
Yeah. Just before half time. But anyway, in the second half, and as I said, there wasn't much from a Celtic point of view to get excited about. But I'll put this one up here just to show you. The ball's going down the left-hand side for Livingston, and it's Anthony Ralston, and he's up against Stevie May, right? Now, I don't know. I haven't even bothered taking the time to Google what age Stevie May is, but he must be in his late 30s by now. And he's outpaced Ralston down the left-hand side, and then got a dangerous ball into the box, and their strikers made a bit of a hash of what should have a perfectly presentable cross. And I thought that was just another. We showed Ralston's good side with his bravery and commitment, but this is where he's lacking, Brian, isn't it?
Yeah, another day that goes in, and I guess I agree with you about half time. Stephen, something happened to the game. It's almost like they played the whole game in the first half, and then just the second half was just a bit flat. I don't know what he changed from a technical point of view, but I just thought the second half, was he just desperate to win, do you think? Just tighten things up a bit? What were your thoughts on the second half?
First, I brought up Mahesh's comment there. He said Livy went man-on-man second half, and in that pitch it's hard to beat, especially Celtic. I've never handled man-on-man well ever since Angie's time. And, I'm not going to, I'll bow to Mahesh's greater technical knowledge of the game than me, but definitely something changed, David, at half-time, and I'm pretty sure it was something they did, an adjustment they did, which made their system work better against ours. And that's worrying, because that seems to happen every game, doesn't it? They seem to get sussed out first half and implement something at half-time which changes everything.
I was slightly surprised at Livingston, knowing that they'd actually kind of gone for it. It was a very entertaining first half, right? So you'd think there are 2 goals down. There's no reason for them to man mark and kind of try to take us out the game and look for opportunity. Maybe that was something of their game plan. I would have expected them to take advantages of the weaknesses that they'd found in the first half. And that boy Montano, I think he had another hat-trick opportunity, 70th minute or so. So there was opportunities with him. But I think the man marking, as Mahesh says, I think that's right. I think they did start to man mark us because it was very difficult for us. It was a midfield game. There was very little end-to-end stuff from on the second half, and it was kind of the game had been choked. But I also think there's something about the system that we play where I think the mental exhaustion of trying to figure out how they've to play means that the players are kind of somewhat physically drained. I don't know if that makes sense, but
yeah, no, I was thinking that myself. Yeah,
it's what it feels like for me, that somehow the exhaustion of the first 45 minutes seems to put our players backwards, and that seems to repeat itself. And until they become fully comfortable, and before we can actually start making valuable substitutions. So what were our substitutions? We brought on. Well, let me get them here.
Brought Hatate on.
So we did. Where was we brought Bernardo on for Kenny 82 minutes. Hatate on for Negrin 71. and Donovan on for Yang at 71. And you're kind of wondering, right, okay, of those substitutions, are you thinking that they're absolutely going to change the game? I mean, they've got an opportunity with fresher legs, but not an increase in skill and determination or anything that we've seen from any of those guys in recent matches. And you're taking, okay, I'll accept Kenny coming off. Although I think if we can get him into a position that he's more comfortable in, I think he can do better for us in midfield and defensively. But you're putting Hatate on for Negrin and Donovan on for Yang. It's kind of like, well, that's where your opportunities have been coming from. So what is it that you expect from these guys coming in to then take this system that no one's really that comfortable with yet, but does show glimmers of things that could happen? So I think there was a couple of things, and I don't know what it is about this system that seems to mean that the second half is a slog for our players.
Yeah, and just to highlight this, I put an image up here. One of the chances they had in the second half was a really poor ball, a poor square ball from Callum McGregor, of all people. And that's led them to running through and goal. Unfortunately, they had no support. The guy cut it back and Twisty was able to clear. So I think you're right, David. I think a lot of it's to do with, again, we're back to the paucity word again, of what's on the bench. I noticed we only made 3 substitutions out of 5, and Livingston made all 5 of theirs.
They made all 5.
And that's just basically down to the fact we don't have anyone on the bench who the manager thinks is going to make a difference. So this was another one again. Again, they had a number of chances, number of shots inside the box, which deflected. This one went over the top for a corner. Sorry, we've jumped ahead there, so we won't talk any more about that. But that was about it for the second half. And overall thoughts in the game, Brian. Who would have been your man of the match?
Well, I would give it to the Negrin. Just only for the fact that he showed glimpses of quality. But I don't know if you saw, you know me, I'm very much into reading body language and things like that. And this was the first time Callum McGregor's actually come out and spoke to the press. And I didn't see him. I didn't see it till the following day, but when I was listening to it, he was very much, the players are working really hard. And then when he was pushed on, what do you think of this new system and how the manager's playing and this tactics and whatever else, and he says, I just got to thank the players for working so hard. So it's almost like and do you remember the infamous Roy Keane McCarthy in a handshake? They're sort of looking at each other. There seemed to be, whenever Nancy's going around giving them high fives, he slaps, like that, sort of goes up and slaps them in the hand. But it was like that with Cal. It was just sort of like a touch, and then he looked away. I think there's something not right between the two of them. I can't put my finger on the fact that this is the first time he's come out, and Nancy's been charged. But is this his 6th game? So 4 losses and 2 defeats. 4 losses and 2 wins, sorry.
Yeah.
And this is the first time Cal's come out and spoke. And when pressed about managers' tactics and things like that, he just says, yeah, I'd just like to thank the players who've been working really hard in training. And, it's like the Rodgers thing, Rodgers says so much without saying anything. You know what I mean? So I just am a wee bit concerned about that end of things, and I think he's still on a game by game basis, and there's something. That was going to be my next question, Brian. So you were the guy who last week I think said you were hoping they would be sacked before the end of the show. Are you still in that camp, or has your position shifted any? I still think he's on a game by game basis, and I think he owes Hibs, a big favour. I never like to see Celtic lose. I just hope the stutter past and try and get as many points as I can, and then I'll see. But I wouldn't put my house on him. I just worry about the players not sort of buying into him and coming out, and he seems a bit aloof. Did he clap just, Brendan would have gone around and clapped the players. I don't know if he does or if that's in his makeup, but I do think that I just want to see Celtic keep winning, and if he happens to be the manager by default, so be it. But I don't think he's there. I don't think he's the man for the long haul. I know who I would like, but I don't know. I'm just an old romantic at heart, But I just love to see Martin back. But I suppose he's the man. He's the manager at the minute. And I think Callum's running the team at the minute. I think Callum's managing the whole thing, and that's why maybe the second half they're coming out a bit flat, But who knows? Who knows?
David, where do you stand in all this? Because it's been absolutely bonkers the last couple of weeks with it started up at Tannadice with the fans singing Nancy GTF. It looked at that point to me as if he was on his way out, because he looked like a broken man. But he has got a win now against Aberdeen, and now again a win against Livingston. So where do you sit with all the craziness?
I think there's a system in there that for a set of players that are familiar with it, it can bring the results. I think that's true. I'm certainly not. I can't get rid of him, because it's just not. I don't think that's what Celtic fans do. I'm surprised that so many have jumped that quickly to that position and made it vocal. I think it's fine to talk about it and be concerned and want Martin O'Neill. I don't have any issues with that. I have issues with Celtic fans in general making it known to our manager of our team, publicly that's the case. And I think, if anything, what we should be doing is focusing in on the board. I think I have my doubts about Nancy overall in terms of his approach and how he works with our players. I think Brian's right. I think he's lost McGregor a few weeks ago with his calling him over to the side and trying to coach him like he was a wee boy. And the other managers had much stronger relationships with McGregor and trusted him because he's there. McGregor doesn't just know the manager, he knows the board, he knows all of the ex-players and Lennon and everybody. He's in a secure position, and it comes as no surprise to me that McGregor is being linked with moves to Brendan Rodgers in Saudi. That's being made public. I think the manager's up against it as well. I don't think he's up against, I think, again, I look to the board of bringing him at this point, not having a director of football to coach him over the line. Martin O'Neill would have been ideal. Keeping Sean Maloney in the house, making sure that the long-term players bought into the system and worked with Nancy to ensure that. Maybe Nancy made that call. Maybe he said, no, my way or the highway. It could be. I mean, if that's it, then it's on the manager. I'd be surprised, but if that's his call, then I've got no issue with that. I think there's a lot of stuff happening in the background still. I think his comments about whether or not he's not sure that whether or not he needs to bring anybody in. Mm-hmm. I don't know whether or not what he means by that is he's trying to, curry favour with the existing squad to give them confidence that, maybe that's a tactic. Maybe he's more clever than the rest of us, or whether or not what he's been told is don't expect too much in January. I don't think there's going to be a lot in January for different reasons, but maybe we'll go on and talk about that, Steve, in a minute.
Yep.
I'm still worried. I'll back him. I'm still going to back him, but I'm not convinced yet for lots of reasons.
Yeah, I'm the same there. And I brought up a comment earlier from David Clarkson, and as ever, David gets to the heart of the issue. And I'll just pull it up again here. And I think the next two games do define the season. or more particularly, they define Wilfried Nancy's future at Celtic, because I think he has bought himself a bit of a stay of execution, regardless of what the board say about supporting him fully. If he loses the next 2 games, I think he'll be gone. And I don't think anybody survives that. And I think both Aberdeen and Livingston have got issues this season. They're not the best teams, and I think we'll know an awful lot more when we sit here next Monday after having played Motherwell away and the bad guys at home. So we'll see what happens there. But just before we move on from the game, we'll have a quick chat about the Celtic Collective, and there was plenty of chanting from the crowd for the board to be removed, and sack the board. The banners were all there. The Green Brigade had their banners there. The Bhoys had their banners there. And I just wanted to have a quick word about Peter Lawwell. There was an article appeared in the Daily Record today by our old friend Hugh Keevans, saying he took a phone call from Peter Lawwell and how disgraceful it was that such a great man, a great Celtic man, had been chased out of the club with threats and intimidation by thugs, etc., etc., etc. And I've also seen a sort of increase in the amount of social media posts that you've seen. I noticed one from Lawrence Donegan today. If you don't remember him, the ex-drummer from Lloyd Cole and the Commotions, also saying the same thing, that we've driven out a really good man and it's faceless thugs and all that sort of thing. Again, the demonisation of the Celtic support. And I just wanted to get your thoughts on that. I will start with you, David.
Lawwell's not going to go quietly. He never did the first time. I think he interfered with Dominic Mackay when we actually saw the green shoots of a bright and green future for Celtic Football Club. Someone spent some time with a support company over Christmas that supports Celtic, and they provide services for Celtic, and they're saying that he's still in the building. He's roundly disliked by a lot of the Celtic staff. This isn't the Celtic way, so on and so forth. I think the Hugh Keevans article, Hugh Keevans, who was banned by law, remember that?
Yeah.
He's very happy, like these, lick-spittle journalists want to do whenever there's a succulent lamb, even on our side of the city, to be had and eaten over Christmas. They'll go and do it, right? It's kind of pathetic. It kind of gives me the ick. Be a man. I don't think Lawwell is in any way. I think Lawwell psychologically is utterly linked to Celtic. I think his great UEFA options aren't going to necessarily materialise, no matter how much Saudi or UAE or Qatari butt he kisses, and he has done. I don't think the billionaire's going to get him out of jail, or whether or not the billionaire's working with him to say F the Celtic support. I think there's lots of that going on. Lawwell's not going quiet. No, not a chance. And that was very much the discussion that we had earlier today when that Keevans did that, right? It was kind of like, we wanted the good news of him going, but how many times now has he left one capacity and comes in another? And then there was been talk of Strachan coming in as chairman. Well, Strachan's going to do what Lawwell wants so he can keep his sons in place so that they all can kind of milk the Celtic fans and the club for all their special Christmases that they have, without the talent or the endeavour to be able to do it and support the club. So I'm kind of sickened by it. It bothers me. When more power to the collective. We scored well against them. We've caused them this discomfort. I think we just keep at it peacefully, as we all know that we do, because regardless of what it says in the article, which is utter trash, I doubt anybody's threatened Peter Lawwell and his family physically, but leave it to Police Scotland to tell me otherwise, and I will support whatever case that is brought legally.
Yeah, all this is conjecture and feeling. And was I right in saying that the Daily Record daily produced 36,500 newspapers? So why are we giving them a voice? Hugh Keevans is a dinosaur. I can't even. I know a lot of people don't like listening to me, but Jesus, I have a glass of water, lad. I can't even listen to his voice. He just seems as if somebody stolen him out of a care home for an afternoon. No, where's the evidence of these things? Show me the evidence, and then come out with all that. And the collective should turn around and say that, yeah, maybe one of us got threatened by somebody one time and put a big story about that up. He's taken £20 million out of the club and more. He's a Celtic fan. Many of us would do the job for nothing. I don't have a heated driveway. He's the permatan and all this. I'm sorry, you're hateful. Get out of. He'll always be remembered for the man that ruined the 10, and I hope he, Celtic fan or not, and I hope his money keeps him nice and warm and comforts him in his. You could call me all the whatever. You can actually. I put my address up online if somebody wants to pay me the money that they pay him, and I'll take the shite. Yeah. And I'll tell you what, I'll take it, and it's just the man's just it just sums up what the club's about, and it's not that, as I said many a time, under this stewardship, the club's not the club I fell in love with, and you can be like, the only club similar to us possibly would be the likes of Liverpool, and Liverpool obviously they've got the Premiership riches and all the rest of it. But I don't see the disconnect between their board and their fans. And I just have nothing in common with them. And, not a penny more, as the collective say. Do not put a penny more. I feel embarrassed wearing the Hearts Adidas t-shirt today. It's not Hearts. It was an offer, So back to collective. That's what I say.
Well, we had... It's also, I think it's worth pointing out that we at Celtic World are all big supporters of the collective, and we're fully on board with what they're trying to do, and we will continue to be so. My view on Peter Lawwell is I hear all the time that he's a Celtic supporter, but I don't believe he is a Celtic supporter, at least not as we understand the term. I've never seen a picture of Peter Lawwell at a Celtic game that hasn't been paid to attend. I've never seen a picture of him getting on a supporters bus to go and sit on a bus for 3 days to get to a European tie. I've never seen Peter Lawwell, attending some friendly match somewhere away down in England, testimonial where you've sat in a bus for 8 hours to get there. So he's not a Celtic fan. He's there because he went to a certain school, and he knew the right people at the right time. And these allegations, because that's all they are, of threats and intimidation, are nothing compared to young Celtic supporters getting their doors kicked off their hinges first thing in the morning for entirely fabricated charges, which just came between the current Celtic board colluding with Police Scotland. So I have no sympathy with Peter Lawwell. I don't believe for a second that he has been threatened or his family's been threatened. If they have, I'll gladly come back on here, as you say, David. If there's any evidence for this, let's see it, and I will humbly apologise. But I don't believe that's the case. I believe he should have been sacked for gross misconduct, for leaking stories about Brendan Rodgers to the Sun of all newspapers. But he wasn't, and he was allowed to hang on there. And he has been allowed, let's face it, he's been allowed to resign and leave the building, probably with a sizable payoff. So I've got no time for Peter Lawwell, and I believe the club is a better place without him. But let's move on from that, though. And I just wanted to finish with this incident from Ibrox on the weekend. This was with the score at 1-0 to Rangers. This was a penalty that wasn't awarded to Motherwell. It wasn't sent up to VAR. You can see there the Rangers player's just got his leg out and he's tripped a Motherwell player, and he's gone down in the box. And this was, you can see there, it's just ticked over the 90 minutes into stoppage time. So that would have been an ideal opportunity for Motherwell to get the draw. And I just wanted to bring this up because ever since they've had their temper tantrum, since the League Cup semi-final that Austin Trusty didn't get sent off, they have had a multitude of these decisions have gone in their favour. And I just think it's absolutely shambolic. David, what do you reckon?
We've done little to change the infrastructure of the refereeing society of Scottish football. There has been some change that is to be commended, where we removed the head of VAR because of the very clear, statistically improbable bias of the number of penalties in one season that they were given. But it's not yet. It's the Lanarkshire. There we go. So it's all of that is yet to be dismantled. Moves have been made, and I'm grateful for those, but in no way is it over yet. I think it's not just the fact that there's been very clear bias from the refereeing society in Scotland, but it's the capabilities of those who come through as well. At time and again, we've seen incompetence in them. So the combination of that inherent bias, which we were told we were talking nonsense, and yet we're shown to be absolutely clearly correct over many years. And again, we still see it, and it's got to be, again, fought by seeking the truth and being Celtic supporters. So we not only got now our board to fight, we've got to still fight the legacy issues and legacy media as well. So fair play. Come on, 2026.
So we're running out of time here, but I just quickly, what do you reckon? What did you reckon to that incident, Stonewaller?
Absolute, and it takes the pressure. I mean, it's the only thing. Danny Rule seems like a nice enough kind of guy, right? And hear me out on this. They're giving the media are giving him a decent enough ride, an easy kind of ride compared to what Nancy's getting. Now, in saying that, Nancy I have no great sympathy for either. But had that been Russell Martin, you saw Danny Rule coming out giving them wee Christmas chocolates and all the rest of it and playing the charm offensive. But they have been easy on him, and then slowly but surely they're in the background and they're catching up, and they're climbing the table. They're now fourth or whatever they are. There's always going to be that legacy media thing, and they'll always have a foot up. But unfortunately, sometimes the foot that they require will trip them up, and that's why it frustrates the life out of me the way we are at the minute. The fact that Nancy's not playing their strengths and blah blah blah. If we had anybody who had any kind of tactical knowledge about players and motivation, we'd have won the league. Would be won by now, but we're unfortunately the architects of our downfall. I do think we will win the league, and I think Hearts will drop off. I'd be delighted to see that happen. But no doubt, the Scottish legacy media want it to be the old firm, in inverted commas, the Glasgow Derby and everything that rides on it and all the rest of it. But no, they're as corrupt as they always have been.
All right. Okay, guys, we're just about out of time. We've run over, in fact, so I'll probably get into trouble with Gav. So we'll wrap it up there. Just one quick one. I'll just grab a quick score prediction, David, for the Motherwell away game on Wednesday night.
3-2. I think we'll lose goals. We're just not secure enough at the back. I think we'll scrape those goals through. Hopefully, 3-2.
Brian, score prediction?
I think it's going to be 3-2 to the good guys. I think Motherwell will get the penalty that they needed the other day against the Huns. It'll be awarded against us. They're definitely. Motherwell will definitely score 2 goals minimum. which means we need to score 3. I think if we're 3-0 up, we need to be 3-0 up. 7-1.
Yeah, as has been pointed out in the comments, it is actually Tuesday night, but it's Wednesday here in Sydney.
Tuesday
morning,
night.
The game is on, so it's Tuesday night. All right, so yeah, I'm gonna go 4-2 to Celtic, same score as Livingston. So we'll end on a positive. And I'll just to mention, if you haven't liked or subscribed to the show, please do so. Plenty of using the comments tonight, so hopefully everybody's done that, because that really helps us grow the channel. And I'll take this opportunity to wish all of yous, and you, David, and you, Brian, a happy new year when it comes. And we'll let the Thursday, we've got the tactical review on later tonight or today, if you're in the UK, where they'll drill into the game against Livingston in a lot more detail. And the Thursday boys on Thursday will look to do a review of the Motherwell game, hopefully reviewing a victory, and they'll look ahead to the game against Satan Spawn coming up next Saturday. So with that, I'll say good night, boys, and hail, hail.
Hail, hail.
Hail, hail.